Hello and welcome to Real Talk Live. I'm Ben Ferguson, and as promised, we have a couple of filmmakers here, Karina Duffy and Amber Lennon. And we're talking about the movie. The movie's called Tahi, the Human Journey. And the movie's not out yet. The movie comes out, it premieres on the 7th in Ojai. And if there's any chance that you can make it to the premiere, you need to go to this. I saw the trailer. I watched the trailer. I've probably seen the trailer about 12 times now because, I mean, it's a 2-minute trailer. And so many things happen in it. I mean, the music, the photography, everything is so captivating. And every time you see it, it brings something else to mind. Talk about educational. So I mentioned the other day that this filmmaker might be here, and they are here. And I want to welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you.
And what really, I think we talked one time, and let me tell you, when I first spoke with you on the phone, you have a voice that has a frequency in it that unlocks something in people. To me, it's not, I don't want to say mothering, but it's kind of along those lines to where this person really knows what she's doing. And
thank you.
Yeah. And as far as the intuition, we spoke a little bit on the phone, and we kind of got to know each other about my experiences with psychic abilities and intuition, and how I'm at a point in my life now where I meditate, and I didn't meditate before because I just didn't understand it. And I think you do things in life when you're ready to do them and not a moment before. And now when I meditate, I'll say just briefly, when I meditate in the morning, it's like an algebraic equation on the chalkboard. Remember in high school, the whole board was filled with numbers.
Right.
And when you're done meditating, that's just all erased. And you have a brand new day, and anything's possible. And that's the way I see it as far as meditating for me.
Right.
So is that kind of I'm new at this, so you'll have to tell me if I'm along those lines, right?
Yeah, totally. Meditation, it wipes your slate clean. It clears the monkey brain, and we all have so many thoughts going on, thousands of thoughts a minute. And if we could just meditate and just get back into our body, into our hearts, and you really feel after the meditation, like, this is what I was born to do in life. This is what I'm supposed to be doing as a human being calm every minute of the day, not hectic. And we're supposed to be human beings, not human doings. So
Right. Well, when I'm done meditating, it's like I just walked into a carnival, and everything's ready for me to do and experience and have fun with. And I think, like I mentioned to you, that when in my 40s, I knew everything about everything, and I was the hippest, slickest, coolest guy in the world, and it got lonely. I mean, there's nobody else like me that was as smart as I was, and anyway, obviously that wasn't the truth. And then I heard somebody say, "You don't know what you don't know," and I almost fell off my chair, and I'm like, oh my God. And that's when I realized I do nothing. And it was such a breath of fresh air to realize I know nothing. And that's when I learned how to meditate, and that's when I started listening to my insides. Because ever since I was a little kid, I mentioned to you, when I was a kid, I was in bed, and a voice came to me and said, "Get upstairs and go to your own room quickly." And I dismissed it, and it came back very loudly in my room, in my head. And I'm like, okay. And I went upstairs, and I opened the door, and my brother had been back in the army, so he was out playing somewhere, and he had lit a candle before he left, and was just about to light the whole place on fire. And that was, from that moment on, I'm like, I have helpers, and there's no doubt. If anybody's out there, discounting or dismissing psychic, you just haven't experienced it, or you will later, so don't worry about it. If you allow yourself to...
Right. I think it's actually giving yourself the time, because we all are so busy, and you need to have that space where you're just going back into your own me time. You're not giving to your kids, you're giving to your husband, your wife. You're just actually sitting still and just being in the moment. And that's actually how this film came about. Getting back to the film, was I was just in a place in my life where I was tired of living the rat race in Hollywood and just constantly go, trying to make all this money and be this huge successful producer. And I was crashing. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. This is not me. It's not what I came here from England to do. I wanted to be in a film that mattered, not a film that makes just tons of money because it's just all about the Hollywood money. So,
well, from what I've seen, I think that film will eventually get there.
Yeah.
But we talked the other day about when that message came to you.
Right. That's
and
what I was saying,
we spoke about, because something came to me, and I thought, how in the heck is this going to happen? And the message was, don't you worry about how it's going to happen. We'll take care of that. You just be there and be present.
Right.
And that's what happened with you with this film.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
I had a series of dreams, and they just kept getting stronger and more vivid. And I heard in the dream you have to tell the story of oneness around the planet, and I was like questioning it, like, how am I going to tell the story of oneness? That's a huge endeavor, like that's crazy.
And travel around the world.
And travel around the world and find all the money to do that. So every step of the way we were taken care of. You know, the money would arrive, we'd find investors, we would know, everyone in the crew knew where we were going. We'd just set out and we would meet the right tribal chief, we would meet the right place, we'd be in the right place at the right time. Either meeting Amber, my producer, and putting this film together, she came exactly at the right time when we had to put this movie together. And she can speak about that too, like how we then put the film together.
Well, yeah, it was quite a journey. I mean, even
you feel like, excuse me to interrupt,
Yeah.
when you met her, did you feel like this was all pre-planned? And
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not to get too personal, but at that time I was going through a particularly difficult time, and I had literally
tell
just
us what it was.
Well, let's call it divorce,
Okay,
largely.
all right. We'll move past that.
We'll move. Yeah. So, and I had literally just prayed like a week beforehand, like I need a project, I need something, because I've already been, a journalist and a writer for a number of years prior to meeting.
You were working in the Ojai newspaper, weren't you?
Yeah, the Ojai Valley News and the VC Reporter and different, Ventura County publications, and a mutual. So fast forward a week later, I needed something, to direct my energy toward, because it was just
time to move on with life.
Exactly, move on with life. And so a week later, a mutual friend of ours who had worked on the music score for the film came to me and said, "Hey, you're a writer. I've got this amazing woman, and she's doing this incredible film about tribes." And I had grown up very much in tribal environments.
Where?
In Arizona, primarily, in
Really?
Missouri. Well, because my mother is and always has been very interested in Native American culture. And so as a child, we went to the Hopi Reservation and were part of different ceremonies there that I think I look back now and I realize how special it was, like, to go to an actual Sundance and see the piercings. And, I mean, it is something.
Well, you
and
are
so,
part Native American.
Yeah, and we are part Native American as well. So when I heard about this film that was about tribal people and indigenous cultures around the world, I was just so excited. And yeah, when you guys opened up the door and we met, it just was like, let's do this.
Yeah, I don't think it's any mistake that all three of us are sitting here either.
Right.
But,
Yes.
one thing I want to mention too about, I saw you talk about the sound, whoever did the music to it. When you watch that trailer, from the very first moment, you're sucked into it from that music.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, every time you watch it, you learn something new. So we'll tell for people how to get the trailer. But one thing I wanted to say was, when I watched the trailer and saw what you all did, talk about a timing thing. We've all gone through the last 2 years of the rioting and all the burning and all the crap, right? All the racist, this is absolutely so perfect timing. It's like a tapestry that's weaving all the 2 years together to make it right, to make things good. Yeah. To get away from all the fires and all the...
Well, the message of the film is about oneness, about how we are all connected. We're on the human journey, but we forget that we're all brothers and sisters. We're all alike. And when we went to all of these tribal countries around the world, 21 countries, we went Africa, India, Nepal, Polynesia, we saw that these indigenous cultures are very similar to us. Like in Africa, the women they may live really remotely, but they will shave their legs, but with fire embers on their legs, where we'll use a razor. And I showed them our razor and they're like, "Wow, that's an incredible thing, you've got a razor." And I gave them a razor and they showed me how to do the embers on the legs. So it's amazing how similar we are. They're just living differently. There may be 6 wives and 1 chief. And then we had another story where when that chief is away visiting the other wives, they bring their boyfriends in. So we got a lot of different... The chief goes and
visits other wives?
Oh, yeah. So
wow,
he had
this sounds
6...
like a little bit of a party.
It was.
It
So
is.
we got the real story of the chiefs. It wasn't of the actual tribes. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to just watch it as a BBC kind of distant opinion. We got really in with these tribes. They
Were the
showed
wives
the stories.
appointed excuse me for interrupting. Were the wives appointed to the chiefs, or did they?
Yeah, they were, but then they bring the boyfriends in,
like
and they have a great time. So it's like it's so different than watching just a flat BBC documentary. But we're showing the commonality, the community. Like when one woman miscarries, the whole village goes out and they cry with that woman. When one woman is like, there's somebody passing away, everybody is crying that grief and that death. It's not just like, oh, well, you go cry inside and like how we do it. Everybody comes together as a one community. Nobody is left alone. So that was really important for me to show, especially as we live in the Western part of the world where we all are very separated
was
and
that the
individualized.
message that you were trying to convey when you started out on this journey?
Yeah, I got the message in myself, just in the dream, but also going in coffee shops and seeing everybody with their heads down in the computer and texting, and I was like, we've got to live differently than this. Why are we not all on one table just hanging out, laughing, joking? We're all separate. We're all like in these little individualized boxes. Right. And is the rest of the world doing that? So I went a little crazy and I went to 21 countries and tribes and saw that no, we're not. We are all connecting, and not to shame us, but just to say maybe lift your head up from the computer one day.
Lift your head up is exactly the correct term.
Say hi to someone. Say hi to your fellow computer person next to you. And
so in the trailer where the children have nothing, but at the same time they have everything.
They have no Xbox, they have no iPhones. They're just playing with sticks, and they're the most happiest kids. I mean, they're not living in perfect utopia. They have water shortages and they struggle.
Don't really know that they don't have the Volvo and the PS5.
Right. Well, they don't. The tribes we went to are so remote. They don't actually have money. They don't know what money is. They don't have a phone. I showed them a phone.
What do they eat?
They eat very poorly, actually, because of the drought in certain areas that we filmed in. They are struggling, so we're raising funds at the moment to put wells in, and they're eating like this. In Africa, they were eating like a strange porridge that just to us didn't taste very good, and they were living off that, and it was intense.
Like
we filmed
carbohydrate?
That. Yeah, it's very dry, wheaty kind of porridge, and even their animals can't survive because there's such a drought in Africa. Yeah. So one of my missions before I leave this planet is to get the whole of Africa water. Like there should be no reason why Africa and these dry continents have no water. And the women walk 3 hours for water and bring a tiny bit back and then give it to all the children, and they hardly have anything.
What about moving them to a different area?
It's just dry in all of these areas, and they do move around, but they're very connected to the land, because talking about spirit, they know when an earthquake's coming. They're connected to the weather. They don't have any weather app. So they know, don't they, Amber? They know. You saw in the film. They're like, they know exactly what's coming. They know if someone's going to be sick in the village. Remember what the chiefs talked about?
Oh, yeah. Well, and as far as moving them, like the Himba chief is, he says, I hope the Himba always live this way. This is his desire for his people, is that they always live that way.
Do they know about other cultures? Like, do they know about the United States? Do they know we exist?
Not really, do they? They don't really. They know of us, and they thought.
Does one ever get out like the Amish to come back and tell everybody what they saw?
They don't get out that way. They're very connected to their village because everything is happening there, and they have to be connected to each other. Yeah. So they're not living individualized. Like, oh, I got to go to the next town and set something else up. And
well, except for really Western.
Yeah.
Western.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
There was one character. There is one escape. Who had this huge fascination with Western culture, and so he actually
called himself Western.
He called himself Western, and
did he come back here?
He did. He was your guide, right?
He was our guide, and now he has a big hotel that he set up in the next town over. And he's traveled all through Africa, and he actually ran away from the village at 8 years old and wanted to be a Westerner.
So is it going to be commercialized with this hotel? Are people going to now see the film and want to be part of this?
People are already going to his hotel, and he takes them on tours to the indigenous villages that he knows about. But he does it very, very sacred. It's not like a touristy Disneyland.
Over time, it's going to muddy up the waters, though.
I'm worried about that because every indigenous tribe changes. Once the culture comes in,
it'll be for the good, though.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. So yeah, the whole message of the film is about let's all connect more. Let's all have more kindness, more heart, more compassion. Let's just find out what our neighbor's doing, go and check on them. There's an old lady down the street, check if she's okay, not just walk past them.
So just hearing all that versus tearing down statues and all the fires and stuff that we've had, don't you, I mean, isn't it just a perfect, like I mentioned, tapestry, everything coming together at the right time? I wanted to ask you as a producer, was there any times where you had some issues or problems with getting, there had to have been, where somebody didn't like you or didn't like what was going on, or how do you deal with that without getting the chief on you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was not part of this process during the filming at all. So I was in post-production, but I mean, in terms of, there were all kinds of hiccups you can talk about the actual journey and how many hiccups there were there.
Editing,
were they demanding to see the final film before you let it go?
Sorry, what was that?
Was the chief demanding to see the final production?
No. They just basically, when you walk into any village, they look at you very deeply in your soul, and they see if you're genuine and you're sincere, if you have bad spirits around you. And they always said yes to me, so I guess I'm okay. They always said, yep, she could film us. And they don't really know what filming is. So it's not like they're ignorant to it. They're just not aware of TV. They don't have a television playing in their cabin, or their hut. So, and everywhere we went to places with no electricity either. So
how about food? Did you bring your own food?
We lived with them and we ate what they ate mostly. And then sometimes we brought our own food, or we would go in and out.
Did you share your food with them? Or
well, I actually had a fund, and I actually spent, in this African village, I spent $500 a day bringing them in supplies so they could last another 4 years. So that was something I wanted to give back to the tribes, and every village I went to, we did that. We made sure we left them better than we'd found them, where we could give them supplies that would last. So that was very important to us.
I had a grandfather that went to Pakistan in the 60s, and he would teach them how to grow rice in areas that they couldn't.
Right.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. But getting back to the question that, we had challenges along the way putting this film together.
Yeah, I want to hear somebody
has been a big, huge crisis, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you mean on location or out in post-production? Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, first of all, when I came onto the project, there were 700 hours of footage.
No, then there was the 1,000.
Oh, sorry,
1,000
hours of footage, and a film about the whole planet can obviously be spun in a million different ways. You can make a million different movies out of this footage, and so trying to maintain.
You kept it very simple.
Eventually,
Eventually,
it got more simple. We started out. I know it is, and really it was led. We've had some amazing people that have contributed their talents and helped shape this film. Besides Karina and I,
Are you behind the trailer? Did you put all that together?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't the editor, but yes, we.
So I'm going to mention one more thing about the trailer. Now, this seems odd. It doesn't seem odd, but it seems interesting that I picked up on it. There's one shot of you, a split second of getting paint on your face.
Right.
But the shot of you, the intensity on your face and everything that's happening, even though I watched it like 8 times, I kept going back. It said a lot more than just what was happening.
Right.
And that's all I can say. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to put it in the other words.
Completely embedded in their culture. I mean, my heart was torn leaving every village I went to. I wanted to stay with them and be with them, but it is hard as a Western body to live in those climates, whether it was Nepal where it was freezing cold or boiling hot in Africa, and we're used to air conditioning and our green tea lattes, and it's not that and we showed that in the film, that I'm uncomfortable in these positions. I'm like, you're putting my body to the test here, but my heart feels so alive, so welcomed. There's no judgment. They don't we have a line in the movie, you can look like a troll in the morning, you don't even have to do your hair and they will love you. We're all like, got to do our makeup to go out, we got to look great, but they don't care about any of that.
When I was a kid, and still when I wake up in the morning, I'm so excited. I just still jump out of bed and I just want to run and go have fun. I don't worry about my hair so much.
But you're a guy, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, I run and go down and do paddle boarding and just enjoy life.
Right, just be genuine.
When I mentioned that stripe on your face on the trailer, I just wanted to give you a compliment, because what I meant by that was you somehow you told that story when you did the trailer.
Yeah, she pulled that out.
It's amazing. The trailer's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's almost a movie in itself.
It is. It's beautiful. It makes me cry when I watch it, honestly. It's like such a completion, like, And then there's the trailer. It's amazing.
I thought it was a short movie. I thought that was it.
Oh,
and then
really?
Yeah. So tell us about the movie. How long is the movie? And it's going to be on the 7th, right?
Yeah, it's on the 7th at the Sane. We've got the address here, Sane Living Centre, 316 East Matilaha Street, Ojai. If you want to book tickets, you just go to Eventbrite and write the name of the movie in, Tahi, the Human Journey. It's 2:00 on the 7th of November, and it's our first premiere that we're ever doing. So we're so excited. I know you're off in your Arizona house.
I am.
Yeah, you're building your tribal land.
Oh man, I'm so excited! I'm filling it with furniture, and I just love doing that.
Well, we have a tagline in our movie also that you can sit in your own sofa and go around the world. You don't really have to go out and travel, especially in these times, and you can just see the whole world from our movie, and you can understand their cultures. So I tried to capture that when I was filming. I wanted people to feel what I'm feeling through my camera. I wanted to put that heart into the lens.
And people need to see that film right now.
It's very, we were talking about this. Amber has a whole story around the timeliness of releasing this movie at this time.
That's what I meant. After this 2 years of craziness, you guys
I know.
Well, and we released it in the middle of a pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic, and really the film, we came to completion last November.
Was there COVID where you guys were?
We released the film on the week of the election.
Yes,
we didn't do this deliberately. It just happened to be, didn't it?
Right. So we were already in this polarized political situation, extremely polarized political situation. And so even that felt so timely and appointed that, and then that just carries on. Look at where we are right now. We're in such a divisive time. The current towards separation and division is so strong. And I feel like a film like this is a salve for us as humans right now. We need to remember that we are connected, and that we don't, that tolerance is so important right now, and inclusion is so important right now. And so I'm blown away by how timely this film is in its message.
You know, I was having lunch at Harry's the other day, and I didn't get enough croutons, and I thought I was throwing my hands up there, and I saw the trailer that night. I'm like, well, it wasn't such a bad thing in not having enough croutons.
I know.
Exactly.
That is another line in our film that we say we complain our coffee is cold, and they barely have anything, but they're so happy, and we have all these discomforts because we've got too much almost.
We do, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I live in excess, and I love it, and I'm okay with that. I don't feel bad about it. I mean, some people think you should feel bad, but why should I feel bad? Yeah. You got one shot at this life. Have fun.
Right.
No matter what it takes, as long as you're fair and you're kind. I mean, that's one thing my mom taught me, was to be kind, and that's everything. Somebody had mentioned we're starting to get a lot of texts about the show, and one of them was that you're entertaining, quirky, and genuine. And when I heard genuine, that just made everything for me.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's the big message: to be kind, to be in your heart,
and genuine.
Yeah, and genuine and honest.
So, because when I meet people, and I start to see this little facade, and I don't need that. It's time to move on.
Yeah. Well, also talking about the timeliness is like our. The whole line about really celebrating our differences at this time, because we're all going to have 1,000 opinions. Are we going to always agree? There's a million ways to do something. There's a million ways to live.
There is.
And that's what we're being tested on right now.
The Western lifestyle, what I'm saying, I'm taking up for the West. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different way to live.
It's different, And we're not saying that in the movie. We're not slamming anyone. We're just pointing out different ways to live.
You're opening our otherwise closed minds from my crouton day to seeing what it really is. Right. I mean, and all these people in Santa Barbara that live here, all these directors, and hopefully they're watching this, and they see you two, and they're going to watch your movie, and who knows what's next. Because everything's about, when I do a show, all I want to do is the next show I want it to be better.
Right.
Yes. Better, and that excites me.
Well, we want to go back there again, because we have heard that the two main wives, the first two wives, have actually left the village, and they have gone and started their own tribe. And now they're a woman's tribe. So we want to go film Tahi 2 now.
That's like an Oprah situation.
I'm not sure if I influenced them, being a strong woman
going
into
into
the tribe.
Most popular of the chief.
I know.
What about the
Chief's
guy that
going to chase me now.
What about the guy that the Western guy that built the hotel? Will you stay there?
Well, I still talk to him all the time.
So if you went there, would you stay in his hotel?
Possibly. I mean, I like to live with them. I really love to be embraced in their culture. So
now, let's go back to the food, because I'm a food guy.
Food guy.
Did you bring food in and have them experience like
I actually
yogurt
lived
or a
off
hamburger?
Luna bars. Here's an ad for Luna bars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
lemon
had to
zest.
flip out over
Yeah,
a Luna
lemon
bar.
zest Luna bars. I lived off that, and I learned to starve a lot because you just don't have time to eat. There's something going on day and night. A lot of them are dancing in tribal celebration day and night, so you're filming constantly. When we were in Polynesia, they danced for 7 days and 7 nights. Even the children, they only stopped for an hour or so to rest.
It was like Brazil when I went.
It was,
same thing.
yeah, it was a celebration of love and oneness. We arrived in the middle of a oneness festival, and we didn't even time that. That was what I'm talking about, synchronicity of spirit. Spirit told me to go to this island. We get there, they're dancing for love and oneness. And it was so powerful. I was like, thank you, Spirit. You gave me a good message.
And you were just led the whole way.
The whole way. It was a spirit-driven film. Everyone said, how did you know where to go? How did you find these tribes? I didn't. I would just set out with a cameraman and myself, and we would just go places, and people would show up, and we were led. We were really led.
So what I really like is at the very beginning, you were telling me that you heard from the Spirit to go do this, and you're like, how? There's no way I can do this. And that's what we have to trust ourselves. We have to trust to just do it. And allow it to happen, like get away, get out of our own way, kind of thing.
Right. I mean, I actually put my own funds into this. I had a beautiful home in Malibu. I lost that by putting it in. Everyone around me said Karina's gone crazy. She's funding this oneness documentary, not knowing what she's doing.
Well, Karina might get $100 million pretty soon.
And I just trusted the whole way that I was driven to tell this message.
Okay, back to the food thing. So when you give a guy that's been eating porridge for 20 years a Luna bar.
Oh yeah, they liked it, but they said it was too sweet. They think the sugar was too rich, even though they're not supposed to have that much sugar.
If you gave them a candy bar, they'd probably.
And you know that in Africa, their teeth are so straight and white, and they say that our teeth get crooked because we have so much sugar.
Sure. We eat crap.
It's pretty amazing.
And plus, we eat soft food, which rot their teeth and they fall out.
And they also said a funny thing to me about food. I said, would you like to live like we do? And they said, no, it's very difficult. So I hear you have to go earn some money, get in your car, go to the supermarket, get the food, bring it back, and then cook it. We just go grab a cow, and then we just kill it and eat it, and we're eating within an hour.
You know, I was at Whole Foods the other day, and it's very true what you just said. I have a minute, so I get these flashbacks.
Right.
I'm at Whole Foods. I'm looking at the glass case where all the meat is, and it's like because I know I'm part Neanderthal. We did the DNA thing, and I have like 2%, which I'm proud of. But I look at the glass case with the food, and I just want to go back and tell my people, "Hey, man, it's going to be different. We're not going to have to run all day to from big tigers, and we're going to be able to just go point to our meat, and they're going to wrap it. We're going to go home and cook it. It's going to taste totally different.
Instant food." So they think that we live very complicated.
Well, I can see for a lot of people who are in fear of having these dead end jobs and wasting their lives. That is true. They're not enjoying their lives because they think they have to make their $2,000 to pay the rent, and send their kids to school or whatever.
Right.
To do the same thing.
Well, I mean, and also just I know that your focus is on spirit in the show. So when we went to places like Vanuatu in Polynesia, we meet this man who's 90 years old, and he talks to trees, and he gets his messages from trees. And he is actually the guardian of the biggest banyan tree in the world.
I like that guy.
And so he was called a tree man. And he got a ton of messages that were accurate. He knew when the tsunami was coming. He did see world visions. He had traveled. So there were a lot of shamans we met along the way that were having messages and very insightful, accurate psychic messages that were coming true.
We're going to do another show with you.
Yeah, about that.
We have 30 seconds left.
Okay, great.
Karina and Amber, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Once the movie is premiered, it's going to be on the 7th in Ojai. What's the name of the movie again?
It's Tahi, the Human Journey. Just go to Eventbrite and type that in, and you'll get tickets 7th of November, 2 p.m.
And when I come back, I'm going to see it somehow. You'll allow me to see it somehow, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the whole movie again.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're like one of our first real guests. We had a skeleton, and we had another lady, but this is really
we're real
nice.
humans. So,
humans are good.
Yeah, humans are good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you. We'll see you next time. I'm Ben Ferguson.